And one should learn Torah, A, for its sake, lishma. Second, one needs to learn Torah to know what to do. And another reason one needs to learn Torah is to be able to teach. But if somebody learns Torah in order for his own sake, to be smarter and to have a greater knowledge, and then show off, or chas v'shalom, go and contradict other people, then he's not learning in the right way. I'll give you an example. There's in our day of age an organization that is called Jews for Yashka.
For what?
Jews for Shem Shelo. Amen. So they call themselves Jews for Yashka, and they go around and they do missionary work, and they convert people, Shem Erachem, Jews, to believe. And we had an encounter with some of them, and many years ago, my wife's best friend, we were already religious, and she was very, very not religious. She didn't have any knowledge about religion at all. So she used to come to us to Shabbats, and we used to introduce her to things and make her pray and make her say Birkat Hamazon, bench for the food. And she kind of got the point. But then one day she moved to a new home. We put a mezuzah on her door, and these two people knock on her door, look very innocent. He's wearing a yarmulke with a little beard, and they tell her we're Jewish too, blah blah blah. Why don't you come to us to our temple? Long story short, they were from this organization, and they were trying to get her to come to them. Now, after a couple times, she came to us and she was like, "Look, I met these wonderful people, but they saying that you are wrong, and they are right, and I'm very confused now. They also do Shabbat, they also do this, and he wears a yarmulke. So go explain now to somebody innocent, who's right. It's not like a 10-year-old being, oh, I'm more right than that person." So I said, you know what? If they're so Jewish and religious, why don't you invite them to Shabbat? She's like, oh, that's a great idea. Okay, she calls them and she tells them, my religious friends want to invite you to Shabbat. And they agreed. Now, I just became religious. I was maybe a year religious. So I wasn't knowledgeable. What did I know? I was maybe a year and a half in yeshiva. So I didn't know how to deal with it. So I started asking around, does anybody know anyone that specializes in that? Same way that a doctor can be a special doctor to heart surgery, brain surgery, gynecologist, whatever. Same in the Torah. A person can be a shochet and master everything that has to do with slaughtering the animals, all the laws. A person can be a sofer, a scriber. A person can be a mohel. Each person has, a trade in the Torah, and he's mastering it. So I found out about a person who actually is from Los Angeles, a Rabbi Kravitz, that his life mission, his specialty is fighting the missionaries. And he goes into churches, he has undercover girls, undercover boys, he sends them into churches to get people out. That's his specialty.
Wow, that's wonderful.
So I call him Erev Shabbat and I tell him, listen, I have a situation because I have these two people coming to me and I need to know how to deal with them. Not only how to deal with them, how to diverse the entire table so I can get favor in the eyes of this innocent girl. Anyways, he told me, say this, say that, don't say this, don't say that. And the first thing he told me, he's like, you gotta be very careful because they are so learned. Don't get into arguments if you're not 100% proficient. Not proficient, how do you say? Very knowledgeable in the Torah. Don't get into arguments with them because they are so learned, they're going to win you in a second. And I wasn't so good, whatever. I was maybe a year and a half religious. I wasn't really, knowledgeable. And the first thing he told me, don't get into arguments with them because they're so smart. And sure enough, and came that night, and doesn't matter, one time if you want I'll tell you the whole story because it's real funny. At the end we won, because what happened, we kept calm, and we showed our friend how beautiful Shabbat is, and they kept getting upset because we were contradicting them. At the end of the day, truth and Kedusha, holiness, always proves itself. And the other side of holiness lost that night. But the reason why I'm telling you this story is because he was so learned. They're so knowledgeable in Tanakh, in all the Nevi'im and the Ketuvim. They know it inside out, and they start quoting all sorts of verses from Yeshaya and Yechezkel. If you're not knowledgeable, you don't know what to answer. And then you're like stuck with your tongue out, and you're like, and then you lose. That's why that rabbi told me, don't get into arguments, because if you're really, really knowledgeable, fine. If you're not, then not. Going back to your question, some people, Jews and non-Jews, they learn the Torah so good, they're very smart, they have very good memory, they know everything, but they learn it for the wrong purpose, to prove somebody wrong or to convert a Jew into Christianity. They use it the wrong way. So if a person learns the Torah for the right sake, lishma, there's no problem. Nesa lo sam chaim. It becomes the potion. I don't know if potion is not the right translation. The translation to sam is drug, but obviously drug is something negative unless you're looking at pharmaceuticals. That you could look at something. It can be positive. But the reality, if you learn Torah for the right reason, it becomes a positive effect. You learn Torah for the negative cause, then it becomes a negative effect. We were just talking about, she was asking me if a woman can study on Erev Shavuot all night, like men stay up all night and study Torah, and if it's okay for a woman to. So that's how we got to it. Excuse me?
And the answer is?
There's no prohibition for a woman to stay up and learn. I told her, if the woman has a husband and there's kids, better that the husband will go and he will learn, and she has to be awake in the morning to be attentive to the kids. But if the woman is single, or no husband, or she's older, or she doesn't have to be responsible for a 2-year-old, there's no prohibition for her to learn Torah. And if she goes into a synagogue, better to be she should go to a synagogue where there's a separation, that she's not going to chas v'shalom get attention from the men and disturb them. And if there's no such a synagogue too close to where she lives, learn at home. There's no prohibition for a woman to learn Torah. Certain things it says it's not good for a woman to learn, but the tikkun of the Leil Shavuot, what we read on Shavuot night, is you read a little portion from each parasha, and then you read a little portion from all the Nach, all the Ketuvim and the Nevi'im, and then some Zohar and Rambam, all the 630 mitzvot. It's actually nice to read, it's very, very enlightening, because you go through the entire Tanakh, you just go like the highlights, and then you go all from, well, you have to buy the book. There's a book, it's called Tikkun Leil Shavuot. The book is organized exactly how you need to read it.
I think the Siddur of Chabad has it.
No, I don't think any Siddur will have it, because you're talking about like 300 pages. So no, it takes a good 5-6 hours to read it. You don't have to read the whole thing. If you just want to have the power and the effect of the learning at night, then you can learn, the first 20-30 psukim, verses from each parasha from the entire 5 books. That in itself will take you 3 hours. And you kind of go through all the 5 books. If you want to give a little bit more, then do it also from the prophets and from the Ketubim. But it's long. I don't think there's any Siddur that has the whole thing in it. It's very long. It takes me a couple hours. I was invited now to speak somewhere, and they asked me to speak all night, and I told them I want to read it. To read the Tikkun takes me 4 or 5 hours, and you want me to speak all night? I can't charge my batteries. I told him I'll speak for 2 hours. So he said, okay, we'll keep you for the morning for sealing the deal.